Welcome to Vic Curiosity, and today the curiosity meter lands upon a theme which is possibly the spirit of India. There's nothing which sells better than it, and there's nothing out there which possibly unites us more than this theme called the game of cricket, which possibly is the best import that we had from the British. Now, do I need to talk more about our victory in Australia? I think it's been sensational by all standards, and there are enough talk about who takes the credit. I think the entire team takes the credit. The stories, each one of them, have been heard in the past 10 days time and again. The story of a Mohammad Siraj to a Washington Sundar to Rahane's great stellar role to Shastri to the role of IPL in getting this team to where it is today, the role of Ravi Shastri, not to forget. And I think the entire cricket establishment and the fans can rejoice of one of the most fine wins. And sometimes the tragedy of cricket is the stats don't really show the story, So, especially for a cricket purist, until you watched a test match, an entire series, you really don't know what the story was all about, what were the twists, turns, what was the plot. And in my mind, we make this perennial blunder where we don't get credit to the most important person in the success. And that's the Indian cricket fan. It's his love for the game which has got India where it is. It's that passion of the game. I mean, if you look at, we are nearing 31st January, the death anniversary of the great Mahatma. He wanted an agrarian economy based on agriculture, and obviously Jawaharlal Nehru differed from him and went on a socialistic way. But if you clearly look, we are sitting, what are the couple of things which have come out of the Indian story in Australia? That we have a fantastic bench strength. We have a pace battery and we have a line of pace bowlers today. And we have the ability to master the moving ball if we actually applied ourselves under the given conditions in any of these SENA countries, whether you look at South Africa, New Zealand, England, Australia. But if you look at the role of the Indian cricket fan and what he can do, which is of course with his passion of the game, create records which Indians can be proud of. But also if you look at the success of sport in America, I mean, nobody's interested in United States of America versus Russia playing basketball. They're more interested in Chicago playing New York. I mean, you look at the sports industry in United States of America, it's crossing more than $20 billion. While in India, estimates are it's possibly going to get to around 91 billion rupees. And we are talking of more than 1.5 billion Indians around the world passionate about a game. So Justin Langer's comment that it's hard to face a team where 11 represent a country of 1.5 billion. Well, to look at it on the downside, we've had those numbers all this while, but why haven't we dominated cricket today? So it goes back to what I'm talking today about, is about the Indian cricket fan. And if we don't look back into history, look at facts, look at stories, we will again miss this great opportunity. Now, let's look at the start of cricket. Obviously, cricket, the world knows, started in the United Kingdom, and there are mentions of it in court records of people missing their hearings because they were playing a cricket match. And in India, it came about around 1792 with a cricket club in Calcutta, which is now Kolkata. We had the first international match was played between the United States and Canada in 1845. And the first test match happened in 1877, 15th March to 19th March at the MCG. Who were playing? Obviously, it was England and Australia. And there's a story about that match that the fastest bowler of Australia, Spoforth, was lying in a lockup because of a drunken brawl in Auckland. And the English team, which arrived after a sea voyage, played the test match the very next day. Australia obviously still won the match, but there's a record which still stands till date. That Charles Bannerman scored 160 out of a 240 score, which is the highest percentage of a batsman out of a team's total score. The initial days of cricket were mostly between Australia and England, and everybody knows the story of Ashes, how it started with the touring Australian team which decimated the English team in 1881, and there was an obituary in the Times speaking about the demise of Indian cricket, and the Ashes had travelled to Australia, and they've been playing each other every other year. And that's a tragedy, because I think India has reached a stage where we need to play Australia and England more often, possibly every other year or every year. Now, let's talk about the story. Where did it start from? Now, we all know our biggest domestic tournament is the Ranji Trophy, but we know very little about the great man. We talk about the greats of Indian cricket, batting greats. We obviously tend to forget mentioning Ranji. And the story starts with the Jam Sahib of Nawanagar going to study in Trinity College in the UK, and he goes and watches a match of the touring Australian cricket team and sees a batsman score 100. He happened to be a bowler. Chester scored 100, and he was so enthralled that he took to cricket, and he started to play club cricket, and he wasn't that great at it. He would back up to a speeding ball, and under the watchful eyes of a first-class cricketer by the name of Hayward, who started to tie his right leg up to the ground so that he wouldn't back up, he started to practice, and he developed a style which took him to glory, where either he was cutting the ball or he was hitting it in the onside. And everyone knows he is the father of the leg glance. It started with him, purely because that's how he built his cricket. And Ranji started to knock the doors when he started to play for Sussex. He went on to be in the top 3 in terms of batting averages from 1894, 95, and in 1896, when the touring Australian team came in, the press to the whole world was asking for Ranji in the English cricket team. And it's a story how he faced prejudice because of being an Indian, but such was his artistry and fame that it was by chance that the selection committee got changed for the second test, and he got pulled in. And it's a story about Neville Cardus calls him the Midsummer's Night Dream. It's a story about how Ranji scored a century in the first match and continued through 1896. He toured Australia in 1897-98 under the captaincy of Andrew Stoggard, landed up in Australia, and he was not well, like a lot of cricketers on this series. He was battling with a bout of quinsy. He wasn't well when he played in the test match there, and he scored a century which became the highest test score, 175, which lasted a good number of years, I think close to 6 years. That's the story of Ranji, who's known to have topped the batting averages in those times, been in the top 3 batting averages, held the highest batting score, and till date, he's considered one of the greatest batsmen of that era. And you look at what the four nephews of Ranji started to play cricket for England too. The famous one being Duleep Singhji. And India started to, under the encouragement of the Maharaja Patiala, started to take teams to England around the 1911s, 1913. We had touring sides going there. And India walked into the ICC, which was known as the Imperial Club of cricket worldwide, joining England, Australia, West Indies, South Africa, New Zealand in 1926. And our first test match has another story. We played our first test match in 1932 at the Lord's Cricket Ground. And can you imagine, we had two fast bowlers then. We had Amar Singh and Mohammad Nisar. And in the second over of the match, Mohammad Nisar bowled Hurst, Sutcliffe and Percy Holmes. He got them in the first 10 deliveries of the test match. England were reeling at 19 for 3. That's the story of Indian cricket. And C.K. Naidu, our captain, speaks about Mohammad Nisar being faster than Harold Lorwood. Amar Singh was considered by Wally Hammond, Len Hutton, to the likes of Len Hutton, that he had curlers which nobody could produce. So that's the story of Indian cricket. We bundled England out in that first test match on scores which are, 250, 230 odd runs. Imagine a baby in cricket taking on a team which has been playing cricket for years and gets bundled. We obviously lost that match because our batting wasn't too strong. But you just look at India obviously started playing a lot of cricket with the quadrangular tournament thanks to the Parsi community which started playing a lot of cricket with the Oriental Club in the Maidans in Mumbai. And thank God we stopped that practice where the Parsis played the Hindus, played the Muslims and the Sikhs, and that was called the quadrangular tournament. And Gandhiji was horrified that we had a tournament of the sorts where we were discriminatory in terms of, he said sport was supposed to unite, not divide. And thank God we stopped that, and the Ranji trophy came into being around 1935 thanks to the Maharaja Patiala, dedicated to the great Ranji. So, I mean, we are reaching a point where we can create the Indian cricket economy. Now just look at the number of movies made in America around American football, around basketball. There is no end to it, and it feeds that economy. And look at us. We possibly have fantastic stories. I mean, you go to the MCG, it has a history. You go to the Lords, there is a history. I would like to see a sound and light show at every Indian cricket stadium. I want to go to the Firoz Shah Kotla and see a sound and light show and hear the story of Gavaskar taking on the pace battery of Malcolm Marshall, Garner, Holding, Roberts, and scoring a century out of 94 balls where he forgot he'd crossed his century and he wasn't known. He came from the Bombay School of Batting, which started with the great Vijay Merchant. Merchant, till date, has a first-class average only second to the great Donald G. Bradman. That's 71. And the tragedy in India is there are instances. I mean, you look at the great story of the series in Australia. We have stories like Mansoor Ali Khan Patori, who became the captain of India in 1961-62 because of Nari contractor getting hit on a skull. And Mansoor Ali Khan Patori is the one who actually started making us win abroad with the first overseas series win in 1967 against New Zealand. You know? He batted with one eye. Look at his batting average, mid-40s. we don't talk about it. We don't have stories about it. We don't have folklore about it. And we neglect. I mean, the IPL has given us a lot. But just look at, I mean, I just heard of the story of Mohammad Azharuddin beating the hell out of Mumbai, scoring a 154 of around 80 odd deliveries in the Syed Mushtaq Ali tournament, which is a domestic league for T20s. We didn't have much coverage about it. We had the great Wasim Jafar, the highest run scorer in Ranji Trophy, 12,500 maximum centuries, retiring last year. We don't know about it. We will miss this opportunity. I think the BCCI today needs to look at that cricket is something that we have as a country, which is so special. It's got to look at how many people are going to get employed with this great thing. I mean, I just walk out of this periphery of my building and there is a slum and they play a different brand of cricket. You know, there are a kid bowls and there are 3 batsmen standing in queue. So if the first one misses the ball, there's the next one who can play the ball. And if he misses the ball, the third one can play. That's the bench stretch we possess. I mean, do you know who won the Ranji Trophy last year? Saurashtra. And the year before, Vidarbha. And if you look at the success of England and Australia, everybody watches the Sheffield Shield. Everybody watches the county matches. And there's no denying the fact after the series that there is no sport like Test cricket. Test cricket teaches you all the values, all the virtues of life which you need, whether it is patience, resilience, adapting. It's a different story. There were 25 catches dropped, some of them which were sitters, and how the series could have changed if some of the catches would have landed in hands at the most prime moments of the series. So it's a call to that Indian cricket fan out there. We need to go out there. It's a call to that fan in the president of the BCCI. I want, just like the American stock, that I have we got the Sunday night football. I need my Sunday night cricket here. I need to hear more stories about our past. I want my stadiums to be converted into museums. There's got to be a batting museum in Mumbai. There's got to be a Sachin Tendulkar museum. I mean, today, one can look at a career in cricket. The IPL, of course, does pay well, but it's just played a couple of months in a year. A Ranji Trophy player is making a certain amount of income that he can feed his family. But I think it's just tip of the iceberg. India today doesn't need Australia and England to define sport. A few years from now, the Ranji Trophy final could be at the MCG. And we have enough coverage, we have enough passion here. And the more we neglect these factors, I think, heard of Karun Nair? He holds the 3rd highest test score in Indian cricket. We'll have a lot of these stories of Karun Nair and a lot of tragedies like the likes of Amol Mazumdar to the highest wicket taker in Ranji Trophy is Rajinder Goel. I mean, where are these names? India has a cricket economy waiting for it. And it's up to the BCCI to grab this opportunity. We have the bench strength. We need a cricket channel where we need to air these matches. The schooling system needs to imbibe cricket. I remember meeting Sachin Tendulkar in his residence, and he was sitting on a special project where sports was going to be imbibed as a subject in the state board. I haven't heard much of that. But the real tribute to cricket and the Indian cricket fan lies with the Indian cricket fan. So, for Indian cricket, it's good times, but we await a great future. And if we miss these opportunities to revive, to remember the great man Ranji, to remember that you want to see a Rohit Sharma face Bumrah. You want to see, to me, the most defining image of the series was Shardul Thakur hitting that cover drive of mid-stark. Well, we have the bowlers, we have the batsmen, we have the IITs, we have, as the great commentator Harsha Bhogle speaks about, that India's always been a battle between brain and brawn in cricket. And that's why we had the great spin quartets. We moved towards spin bowling. Now we have it all. I'm sure we can produce pitches out here which can make our domestic league interesting, which can pull in the marketing money. So to the future of cricket, to the great Indian cricket fan, and to the great Ranji, I'll see you again, more with curiosity.